going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Matt and Zach Show. I'm Matt.
And this is Zach, and thanks for tuning back in.
Yeah, guys, Super Bowl Sunday just happened. I know.
Wasn't very super.
Dude, I love when we do our show midweek because we get a wide range of sports, but I felt like we needed to let this Super Bowl Sunday marinate for a few days before we can accurately describe this, because I wanted to hear what everyone else was saying.
Yeah.
Was this the best or the worst Super Bowls? Like how you always do. Now, this one's not the best, but I just wanted to hear what the general population said, so I'm really excited to talk Super Bowl today. And we're just going to jump right into it, Zach.
Yeah.
Give me your thoughts. Super Bowl 13-3. If you don't know, why you're listening to us, because you obviously don't like sports, but if you don't know, Pats won, New England Patriots 13-3. Zach, assessment.
So, if you remember, because as we said, we did watch the game together.
We did.
Had a couple people over your house. At one point, late third quarter, early fourth quarter, I think I said out loud, this is the worst overall, I'm not just saying game, Super Bowl halftime show, commercials, worst Super Bowl that I can remember. And it wasn't just, I like defense. Don't get me wrong, I like defense. I just didn't like overall the game, the speed of the game. It just wasn't incredibly great for me. Don't get me wrong, it was an entertaining game. I mean, just because it wasn't 37-30, there's no way to say that it wasn't entertaining.
It was funny because, like I said, we were letting this marinate, and I was listening to Trey Wingo describe. He was talking about the Super Bowl with Golick and Wingo.
Yeah, that was
so he
awful.
was going like, "Shut up!" like
He's
really loud.
awful.
Well, no, but he's right though, because
he's awful.
Okay, I mean, whatever. That's the personal preference. I'm talking about his opinion on it. It's right though. Don't say that the thing was boring when you were glued to the Super Bowl for 4 hours. I'm not talking about you.
You're a sports fan. It's the Super Bowl. What else are you gonna watch? There's no other sports on at the time.
I mean, they probably had the Puppy Bowl rewatch going on right there, or the Kitten Bowl, which I found to be absolutely ridiculous.
Yes.
Like, there's a Kitten Bowl.
How dare you, Hallmark Channel?
And it's freaking 5th year, so it's not like it's the first year I've heard of it or seen it. So I think overall, the Super Bowl, I can't call it the worst because you got to remember.
It definitely wasn't the worst.
You got to remember, 6 years ago, Peyton Manning in Denver, they lost 43-8 to the Seattle Seahawks. At least the game was a one-score game in the fourth quarter, and there was some intrigue going down the stretch of that last game.
For sure.
So as much as there wasn't a lot of scoring, which I thought was the complete anomaly of the season, because this season was like the historic scoring season, was amazingly predicted this when we were talking about some of those games with a 51-45 or the first version of the Pats and Chiefs. You were sitting there going like, this is all good, but when it gets to the playoffs, there's going to be some defense played. And overall, defenses were the teams that played good defense ended up going very far, and the Patriots played the best defense of the bunch, and now they're Super Bowl champions.
Honestly, as much as you and I both wanted it, because of representing Kent State.
Oh, absolutely.
Once I thought about it afterwards, Edelman should not have been MVP. It should have been a defensive player, but I don't know who.
But here's the thing: for a defensive player to get an MVP, you got to do like what Malcolm Smith did in the Super Bowl a few years ago, where Seattle.
Smith?
For Seattle.
Okay.
For the Seahawks.
Okay.
Where he got an interception, a touchdown, a fumble recovery, and two sacks for Seattle. You got to do something like that. And although there was great defense being played, there wasn't one person that there was a single area dominated the game.
You're right.
And that's what comes down to it. And then you have the one person that dominated the game was Julian Edelman. 10 for 144. I mean, again, proud alumni. I watched him in college. I would never, ever have thought that he would be a Super Bowl MVP, anything, let alone receiver. When we loved him in college, we thought he was going to be a good player for college, but never thought anything of the pros.
When he played with Gene, didn't he?
Eugene Jarvis, yes.
That's what I thought.
And if you're listening, Gene, which you are, I know you are. Shout outs to the little man Eugene Jarvis, led the nation in rushing in 2000. What was that? 2009 or something like that. 2008.
Not even. Yeah, it was earlier than that.
2007, whatever.
Something like that.
But yeah, so I mean, when we talk about the unlikely Super Bowl MVPs, I mean, Julian Edelman had to be one of those guys that, if he was going to have good enough numbers to win MVP, you would think that Tom Brady went for 330, 4 touchdowns, and he'd be... If Tom Brady threw for 1 touchdown, I honestly think that Tom Brady might have been MVP.
Here's what's interesting about Tom Brady is everyone still so high on him. He's the greatest to ever do it, in my opinion. But all he did this year was enough. He did enough.
Yeah, but here, enough in his numbers that doesn't accurately depict Tom Brady this year. Did he do enough to win games? Yes, but he also had numbers that most quarterbacks can only dream of putting up in a season. They're just not astronomically great as what you're normally seeing Tom Brady do. Is he? Because people are trying to compare him to Peyton Manning in the year that Peyton Manning threw 9 touchdowns, 16 picks, and was carried by Von Miller to a Super Bowl championship. He wasn't that. But was he Tom? But was he Tom Brady of even 3 years ago against Atlanta, where he single-handedly brought that team back? No, he's somewhere in the middle of that, and for that, he's as good as half the league at doing that right there.
Like
at 41
I said,
years old.
He did enough.
I feel like that's a negative connotation by saying like, oh, he did enough.
They won the Super Bowl because their defense was phenomenal, not because Tom Brady. He didn't even get in the red zone until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, but
and it's hard to put
that's one game. That's one game.
I'm talking, but in this game,
but why won't you talk about the Chiefs or the Chargers where he was dominant? So I get what you're saying. He did enough against the Rams.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We're talking about the Super
this whole
Bowl.
Season leading up, Tom Brady was still a amazing quarterback that I would love to have on my team.
Of course you'd want him on your team. I would never argue that.
And I didn't bring this up on any of our pre-show notes, but it just popped into my head, and I've been thinking about this a lot. Okay. Tom Brady. Now, you have the Steelers, so you might have a different situation with this, but you get Tom Brady right now for 3 years, or you get an average quarterback for 10. What do you do?
Depends on the rest of your team.
No, you get Tom Brady. Well, it doesn't matter.
We're not going to talk about what players surround him. Just
fine. You get Tom Brady and Bill Belichick for 3 years.
Yeah.
Or you get, say, I'm trying to think of someone that's a really good quarterback, but Kirk Cousins and the best team that has a chance to win. I mean, you know what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to figure out, do you want Brady from 40 to 43, or do you want like a really good quarterback for 10 years?
I understand, it's difficult. Like, are you saying, am I going to take the Patriots for 3 years?
No, I'm saying
Tom Brady on my team.
You get Tom Brady
on
and Bill Belichick
and Bill Belichick with this team. Then bring Bill Belichick in. Then
not with your team. You're guaranteed
in general.
You're getting Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and that's it. And then everything else is like your normal Patriots. You know, maybe I don't know. I'm just saying, with your organization,
with Bill, it's more for Belichick than Brady, but yeah.
Like right now, as a Browns fan, I struggle to sit there. Like, do I want Baker, who's not guaranteed to do anything, or do I want Brady and Belichick for 3 years? Which I don't know yet. But you know what? I just try to ask a out there question because I thought about that and I was just like, let's see what Zach would say since his team's really good. Your team's really good. It's a Super Bowl contender team for the last 15 years, so I would just thought I'd ask a guy like there. So let's just put a bow on the Super Bowl. Tom Brady, good, not great. We've discussed that. Yeah. That's what I had in notes. Goff, very bad.
Very, very bad.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Which is going to lead into more of a McVay conversation for me, is a lot of these new coaches these new organizations are, bring me in somebody like McVay. I need him. He's going to be a great coach. He's going to win a Super Bowl.
32 years old.
Listen, but people are suddenly trying to only hire new coaches that were offensive geniuses. It's not going to work. McVay's going to win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years. He is going to be a great coach, but they're trying to bring in other people that are his style of coaching that are. And I think you are going to see more than half of the coaches that were hired in the last couple weeks fired within 2 years because it's not going to work. But McVay will win a Super Bowl.
Well, you know who won't get fired in the next couple weeks? Zach Taylor, the new Bengals head coach, the quarterback coach of the Rams, because the Bengals refuse to fire coaches. The Bengals, I was told, has the longest leash in the NFL when it comes to head coach. And so Zach Taylor, their quarterback coach. So what I guess when it comes
back to what you actually brought up.
Yeah, so Goff. I mean, Goff was terrible, and I think there's a big reason for this. Jared Goff, and if you've noticed throughout the whole year, they usually get up to the line and they're ready to go. And it gets them before the 15-second cutoff. Now, what I mean by the 15-second cutoff is that as a quarterback, you have a radio in your helmet. And that's how they relay the plays. And the coaches have up until the 15-second mark of the play clock to talk to you and communicate to you before it goes dark. And that's an NFL rule. So what the Rams was doing, where they were getting to the line so that McVay and the offensive guys up in the scores, whatever, press boxes up there, can look at the defense and kind of assess maybe what they're looking to do and what they are doing, and they relay that to Goff, and then he can get into his one read and go. So the Rams then, it showed during the Super Bowl, they were a lot slower than they normally were getting to the line of scrimmage, and then the Patriots started taking what other coaches were doing, and at the 15-second mark, when they knew the communication was lost and they didn't snap yet, they would go and disguise it to another defense. And what Goff has been criticized is he's a one read. If that read's not there, he struggles to get back to his second and third reads, and so McVay can't tell him this. The defense is doing something different, which led to Goff being absolutely atrocious. And then also, what didn't get talked about, Cooper Kupp not being there, because even when his first read was gone, he'd have Cooper Kupp doing something, and then or he can dump it off to Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley, first off, WTF, what happened to him? And then Kupp was gone. So I'd like to get your thoughts on Todd Gurley. But that's what my whole thing with Goff was, is that the Patriots were very smart by not showing them anything before the 15-second mark, and then Kupp not being there, which was not talked about enough, and then Gurley, again, WTF, what happened with Gurley?
I've watched a lot of football in the last so many years, and maybe I just haven't paid attention like I did this year. I've never seen what Belichick has done this year the way that he's done it with that defense. The way that they, disguise things and change things specific for the game plan, completely changed. And I've talked about this before the Super Bowl. The way that they structured that defense in these playoffs was phenomenal.
Yep.
Phenomenal. And you're completely right with Goff.
Belichick was, during the Super Bowls of those Giants, was the defensive coordinator, and he put together these game plans. Now, this is what the Patriots do, and this is what a lot of teams are starting to do, and we've talked about this in depth all season. Early in the year, they're trying people out. They're seeing what these guys can and can't do. By the middle of the year, they're still looking, and then even to some point, to extent, the end of the year, they're trying to figure out what they can and can't do. And then when the playoffs hit and they get a specific team that they have to prep for, and that is it, then they get there and go like, all right, I know my guy's good at this. What is their guy good at? And then they match up accordingly. So that is just insane. And Zach has a absolutely stunned look on his face. Must be some breaking news.
Yeah, we're gonna go. I'm sorry, but I have to do this.
It is 7:37 Wednesday night on the new podcaster. Big trade.
Yeah. So the Washington Wizards have talked about the fact that none of their big three was up for sale this year.
Okay.
Until I guess John Wall's injury, because the Wizards are sending Otto Porter to the Bulls for Bobby Portis and Jabari Parker.
That is an absolute steal for the Wizards.
I know we're talking, but I try to keep up with stuff, especially right now. Wow.
So we're gonna talk.
We'll get to that.
We have the NBA. We have a trade deadline show coming up tomorrow that we're gonna do as well. So just so you know, we're gonna talk NBA in this podcast as well. But breaking news: 7:38 now on February 6th. It's a Wednesday night. We're recording. Big news, big trade. Max Player getting traded in the NBA. We'll talk about that here in the next few minutes. Let's wrap up and put a bow on the Super Bowl. We can just say that the Patriots were great game plan. Brady did enough. Julian Edelman was as advertised. Sony Michel played well, ran well at the end of that game.
Yes.
Josh McDaniels deserves a ton of credit for the game plan that he put together with Belichick, and he consistently stood to it. Even when they weren't getting the running yards in the beginning of the game, it wore down that defense. And then Jared Goff, what? Todd Gurley, is he injured? Is he not? We'll find out here a little bit more.
And that's the big thing, the big takeaway that you have to talk about with the Rams is Gurley. I don't think it's injury. I don't know what it is.
I think it might be injury. They were talking about the knee. He sat out the last 2 games of the year. I think he trooped up. He probably wasn't 100%, and they didn't want to mortgage their future.
That's it. I think he is 100%, but I think they kept the handcuffs on him because they were afraid, because he is their $1 million man, that they did not want to take any risks.
That's what I'm saying. That guy's making mills. They just got paid. Like, you run him.
Yeah.
I don't get it. But that's the end of the Super Bowl talk. I mean, the commercials, meh.
I will tell you that if the NFL did anything great on Sunday, it was that commercial.
Yes, the
that
NFL
was
top
fantastic.
100. Top 100. You have a quick thing of Brady handing off his 5 rings to Baker, and he says, "Hey, hold my rings," pretty much.
Yeah.
They had all the tackle. Ed Reed getting out there, like, where the hell has he been? Ed Reed out on that commercial. Jim Brown, absolutely phenomenal commercial.
Yeah.
I like the Amazon commercial where they had they're trying new products on for ordering, and they had put like a dog collar on, and the dog kept on ordering dog food. Thought that was cool with Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
There was some highlights, but overall, I was kind of disappointed.
I agree.
The only other one that I thought was amazing was the Bud Light Game of Thrones
commercial,
commercial, where they just mimicked it, and then Dilly Dilly's dead.
Fantastic.
Although maybe, I don't know.
It was, and we were both watching that, and I didn't see it coming. I was like,
No.
wait a second,
That's
the mountain.
Yeah.
What is happening?
And then there's a dragon,
It's
and
fantastic.
yes, it was great. But here's the thing. Conspiracy theory. We don't see anybody. We don't see the king die. We don't see the queen die. So it might not be dead. But for right now, Dilly Dilly is put on pause. So I thought that was pretty creative for them to share a Super Bowl spot there. And T-Mobile had some funny ones, but there was no like last year. I was really impressed with like Amazon. We've talked about this in the podcast before. And then the movie trailers. Again, they were just average at best to me. There wasn't really anything I sat back and was just like, oh my God, this is great. I need to watch this movie right now.
Yeah.
Although Captain Marvel, they got one out there. I think the Avengers Endgame had one.
They did exactly what the $5 million pays for, a 30-second shot.
$5 million, bro.
Yeah, I agree with you. There was
Game of Thrones ended up picking up the bill if they said so that they can kill Dilly Dilly.
That was awesome.
Dude, it was
get over how
that
awesome that
commercial will be timeless for me because they mimicked the scene in there. It was great. So commercials, okay. Halftime show. We're a moment of silence for that halftime show because it died.
It was bad. It was so bad.
So I will say this, and we kind of talked about this in depth during it because Maroon 5. I mean, normally they're good. I mean, they're not millionaires, bajillionaires for no reason. They know how to play music, and Adam Levine knows how to sing. The acoustics must have been off, or he was something. Maybe he had a little bit too many cocktails beforehand. But initially, he sounded terrible.
Yeah.
And then he got better as it went on.
Maroon 5. Yeah. And I want to point that out. I'm not somebody that's over here that's just like, Maroon 5, we need somebody better. No, I actually like Maroon 5. I just wasn't an overall fan of the show in general.
It didn't pan out the way it should have. I thought they had more high hopes. Travis Scott coming in from a comic. He was in a comet and he blew up, and then he played 2 Drake covers as his song where Drake covers. I thought Drake was about to make an appearance. I
did like Big Boy for the brief 35 seconds that he was there. I did like Big Boy.
I'm on it. I'm just thinking. I'm singing.
I was so excited. Yeah. Actually, that came on my way here on my 2000 station. It was nice. And when he came into that, I was like, yeah. And it was there for like literally 15 seconds.
Yes. No. Overall, the Super Bowl was kind of a disappointment in the sense of the anticipation to see all this after a year, and it didn't live up to the hype. But overall, again,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Do you think the Saints would have put on a better game?
Well, of course, I think the Saints would have put on a better game. I thought the Saints, again, I think this is the second year in a row where I sit back and go, like, the Saints were the best team in football, and they didn't win a Super Bowl again. And it's just, because I said last year, and we've said it I talked to you about it many times, I thought the Saints were the best team in the NFL. They would have won last year, and I think this year they were the best team in the NFL. They didn't win. Yeah. And that's simple what the game is. So, Blue Gatorade, Zach?
I was right. I was so excited. So excited. I wish I could have bet it. You won in a 1. It was like 4-1 odds.
Yeah, so. No, I mean, well, still, you put down 25, make 100. Yeah. So there you go. But yeah, so Zach was right with the Blue Gatorade, which again, I think that has a lot to do with the team that wins, because I think that the team over there, Patriots.
It's never happened since they've been keeping that stat. It's always either been orange, yellow, or clear, and it's been for like the last 10 years.
Why would anybody want to drink? I never understand.
Both the orange and yellow are so bad.
The yellow Gatorade, orange. I'll say I like orange, but
okay.
Get that purple G2 in there. Gatorade needs to get me a sponsorship because I got that purple G2 like crazy. Yep. And then finally, the last thing about the Super Bowl that was very disappointing. I think Tony Romo was disappointing. Not that he was bad during the Super Bowl. I thought he was amazing with his analysis. But I think Jim Nantz was like, all right, you had your moment in the AFC Championship. Now it's my time to shine, kid. And he kind of, I don't know if he silenced them. I mean, obviously, I don't know if that's true if Jim Nantz said that. But he didn't really call out many plays. He wasn't really being like, he didn't really get into that Tony Romo mood that we've seen in the last few weeks of the NFL season and into the playoffs. So he was a little. I think I don't know what the prop bet was, but if you took the under on him calling the plays out, you won that easily. So that to me is how this should end. Is how sad I was about how Tony Romo wasn't calling out the plays beforehand. I think he would have done himself even more justice with all those random fans that don't really watch football.
Yeah.
And he was out there calling plays. People would have looked at him as a magician or a wizard. And speaking of wizards, we're going to skip the top 25 or the power rankings for 2019 for a minute because I need to talk NBA.
Yeah.
Because the Wizards just make this big trade. Otto Porter to the Chicago Bulls for Jabari Parker, who I have on my trade list. I was looking at, I thought a person that would get traded. And Bobby Portis. I think Bobby Portis is under contract for maybe 1 or 2 more years. But that's,
I don't know any of that right
cap
now.
relief for the Washington Wizards because Otto Porter was on a max deal. And Chicago, what are you doing?
I know they really wanted to get rid of Parker. They've been talking about that for a while,
Parker
right?
was not had a guaranteed contract next year.
Okay.
They could have cut him, and after this year, it'd have been over with. And Bobby Portis I'm not a big fan of Bobby Portis, but his game's okay. But
I like Bobby Portis.
Yeah.
So I may be saying that on a fantasy side because I don't watch a lot of Chicago, so that's probably how I know a lot of my NBA is from following stuff like that. First glance, I've wanted to get rid of Otto for the last year because he hasn't done a damn thing since he signed that contract. He's hurt.
Yeah.
He is inconsistent. He has a good 3-ball, but other than that, he's incredibly inconsistent. And right now, even though there's no guarantees, he's a lot younger. I know the Lakers were interested in Ariza. I'd much rather keep Ariza and try to make a run for that 8 seed just to keep it interesting.
Nah,
I know we're going to lose.
It's not going to happen.
What, the Wizards make the 8 seed?
When you get Porter, when you trade Porter, you're probably going to cut Parker because you don't have any. They don't have to keep him. They can buy him out. Portis might be flipped for some assets. I'm wondering if there was any kind of pick.
So you think this is the beginning of the tank?
I think this is the beginning of the tank.
Okay.
Well, John Wall slipped and fell.
That was the beginning of the tank.
Ruptures his Achilles, the same injury that DeMarcus Cousins showed.
He's out for at least another year.
12 months. 12 months from yesterday. 12 months from yesterday.
Yep.
And you can see right now, Cousins isn't the same player that he was. And to me, John Wall, is he ever going to get back to being one of the fastest men in basketball with the basketball in his hand?
I wanted us to trade him.
I know you did.
Place,
yeah.
So, and that's nothing against Wall. I love John
Wall.
In
4 years, his contract is going to be $48.8 million.
It's crazy. And let me stress, I love John Wall, but when you have so many years of the same thing and you still can't get past the second round of the playoffs, what's the point?
Yeah, no, I actually get you on
something.
That.
And Bradley Beal is the real deal. I want him to end his career in Washington.
He's not going to.
He is the real deal.
You're going to be able to fetch a high price for Bradley Beal because he just re-signed not that long ago either to a decent contract. So that's the Wizards. That's the NBA trade that just happened. Now, there has been some other trades that have happened here. You got the unicorn for Dennis Smith Jr., Porzingis going from New York to Dallas. Dennis Smith Jr., another young kid. He just got lost behind Luka Doncic there in Dallas. Goes to New York, a team in New York that really liked Dennis Smith Jr. And wasn't it LeBron last year that criticized New York for not drafting Dennis Smith Jr.? So that definitely happened. So Dennis Smith Jr. gets a fresh start in New York. I absolutely love Luka Doncic with the unicorn Kristaps Porzingis there in Dallas. That is a combination that could be for the next 10 years lethal. And Unicorn's already come out and said that he wants to re-up and re-sign there. So this is a promising start for maybe a promising, NBA team there in Dallas. So
is it the second coming of Dirk and Steve Nash?
Well, that's what it's like getting compared to. Although Doncic, I can see why people would compare Porzingis and Dirk, but Luka Doncic and Steve Nash are completely different players. Yeah,
for sure.
Way different players. But I see what they're trying to go there. And then last night, middle of the night, huge NBA trade happened.
Yeah, saw it this morning at 6 a.m.
Yeah, Tobias Harris, Boban Markovic, my favorite player in the NBA, and Mike Scott, I think a really good player that doesn't get any minutes anywhere for some reason. To Philly for Wilson Chandler, Landry Shamet, which I'm very high on the Shamet kid. He's actually a really good three-point shooter out of Wichita State. Mike Muscala, a 2020 first-round pick for the Lakers, or from the Clippers, a first-round pick via Miami in 2021, and then 2 second-round picks. Zach, what are the Clippers doing? They're the 8th seed in the NBA Western Conference right now.
They clearly don't want that 8th seed.
But here's my thing.
They're trying to
Tobias Harris is gone next year. He's a free agent this year. At the end of this year, he's a free agent. So you can't use the excuse we're trying to free up cap space.
True.
Okay? The one pick you're going to get from Philly is going to be bad. The Miami pick might be good in 2021. You just don't know at Miami. Okay? I understand that. Okay? But you've already won too many games to tank this year. And so why not just go all in, try to make it into the playoffs? Well, you say that you'll lose Tobias Harris at the end of the year. Well, it doesn't matter. You're not really getting a huge haul back for him. Wilson Chandler has 2 years on his deal. Shamat is a really good young player that they could look to flip for another draft pick, which I would be okay with. And then Mike Muscala, he's just a journeyman now. He had a couple good years in Atlanta. He's a stretch 4 that doesn't shoot the ball particularly well, but he's a good like 10th or 11th man on that NBA roster. So I just don't understand what the Clippers are doing. Because if you wanted to tank, you trade Tobias Harris in the beginning of the year. If you want to make the playoffs, you go for it. And they're not going for it. It's annoying to me. Your thoughts on the trade? Philly got better.
Philly definitely got better. I still think they still are probably another move away from being. They have a great starting 5. They don't have a deep bench.
Well, I know they got a kid. I can't remember the trade, and I didn't write it down or anything. They did get a trade with Toronto for a kid that's a decent shooter off the bench, be a 3-and-D guy. Here's the thing with Philly. Tobias Harris becomes their 4th best player on that team.
Yes.
Name me a team that has a better 4th player outside of Golden State.
Off the top of my head,
there is none.
I can't.
It's Golden State because Golden State has Boogie, Draymond, and then Clay, Steph, KD. That's a ridiculous roster. But when it comes to it, there's no team that has a better 4th option on their team than the Philadelphia 76ers, and especially out east. I think this vaults them into a chance to win the East, and it puts them in the conversation to give Golden State a legit run for them. I mean, but you have guys that can guard the perimeter, and then you got Joel Embiid.
The good thing with the Warriors is they came up together in a sense. I don't think that the egos of the Sixers. Look at what Jimmy Butler acted when he first got there.
But that's when he first got there.
I don't know that these guys can deal day night.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
With 4 guys that all want the ball.
Yeah, well,
they don't have a true point guard.
Here's the thing: Tobias Harris has come from a guy that was a fringe NBA. I don't want to say fringe NBA guy, a fringe NBA like starter to a guy that could get a max deal this offseason. So he's done it, and he's gone from being a guy that doesn't get the ball a ton to a guy that gets the ball all the time. So I think he might be able to blend in very well.
Unless I'm missing something, when is the last time he played on a team where he wasn't the best player?
Well, I mean, okay, when he first got drafted, though, no one saw him as a max NBA player. What I'm trying to say is he had to earn it.
He's also played on bad teams.
Well, yeah, he was on Detroit for a very long time, and then I forget where we...
That awful trade to Orlando.
Oh, yeah, he was on Orlando for a while. I see what you're saying there, but I also see the fact that I've seen a guy that's had to work really hard to get where he's at, and I think that he's going to take advantage of this opportunity considering that he probably has... one of the career lowest winning percentage of any player in the NBA since he got in the league.
All I'm saying is pump the brakes because I still think that Toronto, Boston,
Toronto wants to trade their team,
and Milwaukee are still better.
I mean, reports are Toronto wants to trade Kyle Lowry and Valanciunas.
Well, that's not a report. They offered that to.
Well, yeah, that's what I said. Reports are they offered.
Turned down.
And you know what? The NBA, you got to commend them. But if I'm an NBA executive, I hate what's going on right now. All these leaks. I mean, the Lakers have more leaks than... I mean, I could poke 17 holes into a cup of water and the Lakers will have more leaks than that. Yeah. It is ridiculous what is coming out in the NBA. And
then the leak that... who's the GM or in Boston?
I know what you're talking about. Danny Ainge.
That Danny Ainge straight up went to New Orleans and was like, listen, I got something better for you. Just wait. And I really think that New Orleans is taking that to heart and waiting.
That's tampering. Not allowed to do that. Fine them.
I mean, it is, and I think I told you the other day, what Van Gundy was on Get Up the other day, and he was just straight up. He's like, everybody does it.
Yeah.
He's like, the fact that if you get caught tampering, you're an idiot, because everyone does it. Every single day, everyone's doing it.
Yeah. It's crazy. And then there was one more trade that happened today. Thon Maker going to Detroit for Stanley Johnson. Now, it's not going to be one of those trades that's going to get the major headlines, but to me, Milwaukee Thonmaker wasn't happy. He wasn't getting the playing time, and he goes to go to Detroit and contribute to a team that's on the fringe of making the playoffs there. And then Milwaukee gets another athletic wing that can shoot okay, but D up. And in this league, when it comes to the wing position, Stanley Johnson's a premier defender. He's young. There's talent there. I really like what Milwaukee did there. I know it's an under-the-radar trade, but it's one of those ones that can pay dividends when it comes to the playoff run and then into the beginning part of the Eastern Conference playoffs to have him go out there. A couple years ago, he was with Detroit when they made the playoffs against the Cavs. He D'd up LeBron about as well as you can probably do it. I mean, LeBron still did have like 26 a game, but he had to work hard. And I think I like that in Stanley Johnson's game, and he's developing a three-point shot. So we won't waste too much more time on Stanley Johnson, Thonmaker. Yeah. I just like the trade for both teams.
Okay. Then what's the other one is... What, the Tyler Johnson trade?
Yeah, Tyler Johnson.
Another small
Tyler
one
Johnson, the Phoenix. I didn't really put a lot of thought into it because I don't think it's going to have any direct affiliation to the playoffs this year because I don't think Miami is any kind of serious contender in the Eastern Conference.
And they are contending for an 8 seed, but I just don't understand it.
It doesn't make much
Ryan
sense.
Anderson, they gave up Johnson and
Ryan Anderson is being passed around the NBA as much as, and I'm going to keep this podcast clean, but he is being passed around the NBA right now. That guy signed a huge deal, and now nobody wants him. And it's like, hey, we need cap relief. Here, we need cap relief. Hey, we need cap relief.
Yeah.
Just throw him. He shouldn't pack a bag. Just live out of your suitcase, bro, because you're getting passed around.
Yep.
So
all over the place.
NBA trade deadlines tomorrow. Zach, are there players out there that you're looking forward to seeing getting traded, or what you've heard or seen that a possible trade this year or tomorrow when it comes to the NBA trade deadline?
I really want to see Mike Conley go somewhere where he can.
Well, he stated that he wants to go out east because Utah has a deal ready for him.
If Conley goes, from what I'm seeing the last couple hours, if he does get traded, it's looking like it's either Utah or Detroit.
Oh, go to Utah. I guess it doesn't matter either way. You're not going far in the playoffs.
Yeah. And then I
think maybe go to Detroit. You have a little bit more ball dominance there because you have Donovan Mitchell out in Utah. That's going to be a ball-oriented guard. Yeah, you probably want to go out to Detroit for your personal. But hell, the guy got paid. The guy 2 years ago was the highest-paid basketball player in the history of this league.
And I guess MJ's making a big push for Gasol to go to Charlotte.
That would be pretty cool. Sense. I like that because Kemba needs some help. Maybe it shows to Kemba
keeps Kemba in Charlotte when there's a lot of talk that he's going to go once his contract's up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, obviously, the Anthony Davis rumors are out there. Yeah, I do not believe it. Unless the Lakers go ahead and do crazy trade, whatever, I don't see it happening. But I've been wrong many, many times. I'm interested to see I'm gonna keep my eyes on the Bradley Beal situation because if the Lakers don't get Anthony Davis, I think they should turn their attentions to Bradley Beal and try to get him to come there. So you have a legitimate number 2 star to go along with LeBron and a guy that would probably fit in like a glove with LeBron, being able to shoot the ball, then take over when they need him to, and also play great defense. I love that.
Speaking of journeyman, looks like Shumpert is making his way to the Rockets.
That's
part of a 3-way trade, including Cleveland. I don't know who's involved.
Alec Burke may be getting involved with the
possibly.
trade.
Right now, it's just
because Houston had a lot of tabs on Alec Burke. They really wanted him. Maybe they're getting both players and sending out some draft picks here and there. That would be very interesting. Cleveland's going to be a team that's like, yo, you have draft picks. They're again, and I reference this I think every podcast. The Dave Chappelle where he's Tyler Big whatever where he's like the crackhead.
Hey, Joe Rogan.
Yeah. He's like it'll be like, hey, NBA teams, you got draft picks? You got draft picks? I want them. Get me those draft picks. I feel like that's what Cleveland's going to be this. Yeah. I mean, last year they had the Woj bomb of all Woj bombs where they traded 90% of their team, and then they got in 90% move of the team. This year they're going to be like, yo, we want to be part of trade still, but yo, can we get those draft picks though?
Yeah.
Let me get those draft picks. Like we're going to have to put an intervention out for Cleveland on draft picks. So those are big time. Gasol, Conley, Beal, Conley, Beal, Davis, Anthony Davis. For me, there's a couple guys under the radar. I have Jabari Parker there. I thought that this guy was going to get moved. There was some temperaments in Chicago. He said that he didn't come there. He didn't sign his contract to play defense there. That's what he said. He said that. He didn't sign a contract to play defense in Chicago. That you signed me to score the ball. So he refused to play defense. So I want to see how this
someone
goes.
Someone in the NBA refused to play defense. What?
Well, but he publicly said you didn't pay me to play defense. It's almost like Cardell Jones going, I didn't come here to play school.
Yeah,
like that's how crazy that was.
That's one of my favorite lines ever.
Jabari Parker. For me, I'm interested to see Taurean Prince. Now Taurean Prince again, he's not many NBA players, not like your casual NBA fans are gonna know who Taurean Prince was. Out of Baylor, he's a 6'9" wing guy. He's a good 3-and-D. For Atlanta, he's a little bit more because he's one of their better players. He averaging about 13 points a game. He shoots and makes 2 3-pointers a game, which again, I think for a playoff team, a team that's going to be contending for a title, a good 3-and-D, very athletic, can play multiple positions, anywhere between he can guard the 1 to the 4. I think he'd be a very interesting get for somebody. I'm also going to keep my eyes out on Drew Holiday. If they go full tank, Drew Holiday right now probably gets the highest draft picks, like the consumption of what picks would come in would be the highest he would right now.
Okay.
Because he's playing a magnificent basketball.
That he is.
So Drew Holiday for me. Kevin Love, I'm going to keep my eye on it. Don't think he's going to get traded now because of the injuries. And then there's a few more guys. These guys are on the last year of their deal. So I want to get your input from these guys. These are guys that are potentially going to get traded. Vujicic from Orlando. Last year of his deal, he is averaging 20 points a game. He has said that he probably will not re-sign in Orlando. He could be saying that just to force his way out. Nikola Vujicic, am I saying it right? I think I'm pronouncing it right. He's the big man down there in Orlando.
I thought it was Vucevic.
No. You're right. It's Vucevic. Okay. Thank you. But the itches get me every time. Vucevic, he is in the last year of his deal, can walk at the end of the year. Very interested. I want to just keep my eyes on that situation.
He's playing great basketball. He's an all-star.
Nikola Mirotic, in, again, if the Pels go full, get rid of everybody. He's in the last year of his deal. He can garner a first-round pick from a contending team. He's a good stretch forward.
He's definitely on the block. They're trying to get rid of him.
Yeah, so
along with their other power forward that they picked up from the
Julius Randle is my next guy. He has a player option at the end of this year. Likely going to decline that player option, getting about 20 a game. He's a guy that's going to make some money in this offseason. And finally, DeAndre Jordan. Just got traded to New York. Last year of his deal, 1 year, it's the only year of his deal. 1 year, like $22 million deal. They say they want to bring him in to mentor Mitchell Robinson.
They also just said today that their hope is, I don't know if he has a relationship with them, but their hope is that DeAndre Jordan can help them bring in a free agent.
Well, again, we'll see. I mean, but if someone comes out and offers them, a first-round pick for a guy like DeAndre Jordan, I just want to keep my eyes on this situation. Now, I'm not saying all these guys are going to get traded. These are just guys in the last year of that deal that are very intriguing to me that has stated or has been some rumors about them not re-signing or wanting to be back with their team. So the NBA trade deadline's tomorrow. Me and Zach are going to put out a show tomorrow. It will be a thrown together show because guess what? We have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Otto Porter just got traded.
So do you want your Cavs trade?
What's the Cavs trade?
Cleveland sends Alec Burks to the Kings, and the Rockets send Brandon Knight and Marquise Chris and a protected first to the Cavaliers.
Marquise Chris and Brandon Knight. This is crazy because during the Kyrie Irving trade, whatever, when they were talking about it, Marquise Chris was there. When Kevin Love was going to get traded to Phoenix, Marquise Chris was rumored to go back to Cleveland. I think Cleveland's obsessed with Marquise Chris. And then Brandon Knight, is that the same guy that got dunked on by DeAndre Jordan? We're almost on his career when he was up in Detroit. He was probably because what's his name? Who's their starting point guard in Detroit right now? Why am I drawing a blank? He was with Milwaukee for a little bit too. Oh, it's not Reggie Jackson.
So it is Reggie Jackson right now because someone's hurt.
That's right. That's right. Reggie Jackson. But there's whatever we can get to. I'm not really wanting to know what the starting lineup is, but it was always rumored during all these trades that Marquise Chris would come to Cleveland. I guess cool. That's awesome. Good for Cleveland to get another young kid. I guess I don't know. I'm so butthurt when it comes to the Cavs right now, bro.
Dude, I am just trying to make it through and stick with the program of everything we wanted to talk about on the podcast because half of my brain is
just
what
got fried. Yeah,
just
what
with
just
this
happened?
Otto Porter trade?
So yeah, again, this is live. We don't just stop and then we didn't like that sounded like, so we're gonna delete it and re-podcast.
We try to act like it's live, even though we haven't really worked up the nerve to do it live yet. But we treat it like it's live.
I stutter so dang much. If we were to get rid of everything that we would do that we didn't like, we'd be here for 17 hours, man. So that's the NBA in a nutshell. We're gonna do a lot more tomorrow with our NBA trade deadline wrap up show. That I think we're gonna pop it out that night. I'm gonna get it into the recording, and then I'm gonna edit it, and then we're gonna go right into it and put it out tomorrow night, so our thoughts on what happened in the crazy day. I'm putting that in quotations because I have no idea what's gonna happen tomorrow in the NBA. I hope we get just a slew of trade. I want everyone to trade. Every team trade with each other.
NBA trade day, deadline day is one of my favorites. It's so much fun.
Sometimes it's great, like last year where, like I said, the Cavs traded everybody, and then some days it's not as good. So
there's nothing better than it's
not doing work.
Knowing that walking into a meeting, for me personally, with sales, walking into a meeting at 1 o'clock and coming back out in my car and checking and be oh crap, that happened. While I was in that meeting.
Exactly.
What's up?
I have my phone set to let me know if any trade happens, so I'm hoping my phone's blowing up tomorrow.
Yeah.
So let's talk, and we skipped over this because we were so excited. I had a great transition with the Wizard and the Wizards. I want to go back and just really quickly talk about the 2019 NFL Power Rankings, way too early version of it. We have the top 10 teams we think are going to be in the mix next year. So Zach, you have your 10 through 5, 10 through 6. Let me know who those are.
10 Dallas Cowboys, 9 Baltimore Ravens, 8 Texans, 7 Bears, 6 Colts.
Okay, so we're gonna be crazy. Who was your number 10?
Dallas Cowboys.
I have them at 17.
All right.
Wow. So my number 10 is the Philadelphia Eagles. My number 9 is the Minnesota Vikings. My number 8 is the Indianapolis Colts. My number 7 is the Green Bay Packers. And my number 6 are the Los Angeles Chargers.
Okay.
We're completely off here.
All right.
So who's your 5, 4, 3?
Los Angeles Chargers at 5. New Orleans Saints at 4. Los Angeles Rams at 3.
So you don't have your Pittsburgh Steelers at all.
13.
In the top 10.
13.
That was my phone vibrating. I hope it wasn't another trade happening. So here, my number 5 team is the Pittsburgh Steelers. My number 4 is the New Orleans Saints. My number 3 is the Los Angeles Rams. So who's 2 and who's 1?
Chiefs Patriots.
I go Chiefs Patriots too. Until you beat them, the Patriots are the number 1 team for next year. I don't care what.
As of 4 o'clock today, I had Chiefs 1, Rams 2, Patriots 3. Then I remembered earlier in this year, I said when we did our preseason rankings, the champion is always first until they lose.
They have to.
So I put the Patriots at 1.
So interesting fact, did you do, by any chance, I'm going to put you on the spot, Cleveland Browns?
I did 1 through 10, Steelers and Browns.
Okay, what do you have the Browns at?
14. 1 spot behind the Steelers.
So I have the Browns at 15. And I wanted to put them up in the top 10. But every time I looked at it, I go, Falcons, are they better than them? Probably. Texans. I have the Bears at 11. I think there are a good 15, 16, 17 NFL teams I look at right now go wow, those are some good teams. And I'm sitting there going this is going to be set up for an interesting next season with the NFL.
Where did you have the Steelers again?
Steelers for me were number 5. They still have Antonio. Listen, right now, we're doing it right now. They still have Antonio Brown. Le'Veon Bell is not there, but I like James Conner, and they still have Big Ben, Juju Smith-Schuster, and they still have a really good defense. And until it changes, that's why we're doing this right now. I have to assume that Antonio Brown, he is under contract for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I understand that.
So I have to assume he's going to be there. So if they have their full arsenal of teams, of the playmakers, they're a top 5 team in the NFL. Yeah, they didn't make the playoffs last year, but I don't know what I'm not a fan of that, and I'm not a fan of the Ravens. I have them at 18. I don't really think that team's going to be that good. And then the last team in the NFL this year, Oakland, because they don't even have a home. How can you be a football team and not have a home?
Go in your home. You don't got one.
They don't have a home. They're not even the San Francisco Giants said, "No, we're good. We don't want you playing here." Nobody wants them to play in their facility, so I'm done. They're the worst team in the NFL until they get a home. And at that point, they're not going to go up any higher anyway. So I will post my top 32 NFL power rankings. Zach will be posting out his top 10 here on the social medias. And, of course, if you're joining us, the social medias out here, we're at MattZackShow on Twitter. We have Zach has his personal Twitter. Plug it.
I'm looking straight at it. I don't even know what. I think it's at Zach Laux.
It's at Zach Laux.
Yes, it is at Zach.
Gosh, I know.
ZACKLAUX.
Guys, if I'm gonna get real close to the mic here and talk. If you didn't know, I do most of our social media. The guy doesn't even know his own social media page. So
I just click on it.
So
that's how it works.
And
for
then
me.
my personal is mbang41. If you want to get out there, interact with us, we're quite happily wanting to entertain and talk to people.
Yes,
so Twitter,
sir.
MattZackShow, Instagram at MattZackShow. Get over there, follow us, like our pictures. We do some pretty sweet ones over there, if I may say so myself. Also, we have a website. It's 3andoutpod.com, THREE and outpod.com. Get over there, listen to all of our episodes. We're on
check
SoundCloud.
it all out. Look at everything.
We're on SoundCloud. We're on Apple Podcasts. We literally are trying to take over the world. We're everywhere. And then now we are on YouTube. We put out our first YouTube video. It's going to be out there. So we're literally.
So now that we're everywhere, we need you to come listen.
Yeah, literally, there's no excuses. If you like listening on YouTube, guess what? I just did it. If you like listening on iTunes, guess what? We've already done that. So unless you listen to some weird thing, then whatever. But there's no excuse why you can't listen to us. And we're gonna wrap up the show with a little bit of college b-ball, bro. I'm just gonna let people know, since if this is the first time you've tuned in to college basketball sense, Tennessee's pretty good. Duke has some okay players on their team. The ACC is very good. The Big Ten's very good. I know there's only two teams out west that are very good, and it's Gonzaga and Nevada. Who else out there is good?
Washington's starting to play well, but
who else good out there? Nobody knows, because nobody cares. The Conference of Champions, as Bill Walton says, sucks. So out west, the Big 12 has some irregularities to it. West Virginia's not that good, which have usually been very good.
West Virginia's awful.
And the Texas Techs of the world are pretty dang good there in that conference.
You know who's in first place in the Big 12 right now?
Who is in first place of the Big 12 right now?
Kansas State, by beating Kansas last night.
Yes.
What's crazy about this is unranked Kansas State beat Kansas. The fans rushed the court, yet they're in first place in the Big 12.
That's crazy.
But they're not ranked. So it's like, it's one of those weird things. It's like, oh, we're going to rush the court because we just upset Kansas, who has won the Big 12 53 years in a row or something.
Yes, they've won or shared it for 97 2.5 years in a row. And then, they're not ranked, but yet they're leading the conference. That shows you the parity. I think it shows you the parity all over college basketball. And then you have the ACC, who are very top-heavy, that has some very, very good teams at top.
Everyone thought the Big Ten was top-heavy. And
the Big
now
Ten,
it's like, who knows?
The Big Ten, and this is what we're going to do, because we're Big Ten guys. Listen, and most of our listeners are Big Ten guys.
We're always going to favor the Big Ten, because
that's
what we watch and...
We're all Big Ten people, because it's not all guys listening to this. I apologize. So we're gonna talk a little Big Ten right here, because when you think of basketball, I think of the most competitive, the best conference right now is the Big Ten.
I agree.
And we want to talk NCAA tournament. And Zach, fill some time for me, I'll fill it because I'm good at talking. On my phone, and here I'm showing him right now, I have a countdown clock. This is how much I love college basketball. I have a countdown clock to Selection Sunday.
That excites me.
38 days, 21 hours, 47 minutes, and then 30 seconds, guys. Well, like 28, 29 now. But you know what I'm saying? I absolutely love college basketball. I absolutely love the tournament. And for me, I want to talk Big Ten seeding. Zach, how many teams do you have getting in from the Big Ten?
If the tournament started today, now I'm looking at 9 teams.
I have 9 teams as well.
I have 8 teams that are solid that I think they're in, and then I have my 9th team as.
So we all have this. Last 4 in Indiana with the big win over Michigan. The team is 4-7 in the Big Ten. They are 13-9 overall. If I can't remember correctly there, but they
their
have
recent win put them back.
They're back in the mix, because they were a solid team about 4 weeks ago. They were a solid team, and then they won this big losing streak. And
there are some people that still have Nebraska in. And Nebraska is currently in my opinion, I know it's only halfway through the Big Ten season, but in a must-win home game against Maryland right now.
Yeah. I do not believe Nebraska's getting in, and but it all has to do with their the player that got hurt, and it's on the tip of my tongue. There's a second best player, because they have James Palmer Jr. out there as their best player, but he got hurt against Ohio State. So that Nebraska to me is like, there's the next 4 out, and then the 4 after that out.
I would agree with that.
They're in the mix, but they need to get some big time wins.
Yeah.
So we have Indiana last 4 in. So what is I will say this: we have Minnesota in. What seed is Minnesota?
I have Minnesota as a 9.
I have Minnesota as a 9 seed too. Now, guys, remember, we do not compare notes, especially when this happens before the podcast. So this is just a complete utter. We're both in the dark on each other's rankings. So I'm going to say this. I think Ohio State, you have them in.
I do.
What do you have Ohio State as?
I have Ohio State as a 10 seed.
You have Ohio State as a 10 seed.
Yes, I have Ohio State as the second lowest seed out of the Big Ten right now.
Okay, I have Ohio State as an 8 seed. I think their non-conference schedule gets a little bit of is what knocks them down a little bit in a lot of people's eyes, but I think they still have one of the best wins in college basketball at Cincinnati when they were opening up their new arena for the first game of the season. I think it's one of the best wins in college basketball still. And I think that their win over their last couple games, they've kind of figured something out, but we don't need to talk about Ohio State like that. So then who's your next, what you said, your second lowest? So you had Indiana, Ohio State, Minnesota.
Correct.
So my next one would be Maryland.
Okay.
I have Maryland as a 5 seed.
Okay.
Where is your Maryland Terrapins
I
at?
also have Maryland as a 5 seed.
Okay, so we agree on that one.
I have another team in between that Maryland 5 and Minnesota at 9.
I think I know who you have, and I think you're going to be shocked where I have them. But go ahead, Iowa.
Iowa's a 6 seed.
I have Iowa as a 4 seed. I think they have some really good wins on their belt. I think that they're a team that should be and will be a 4 seed at the end of when it's all said and done. I think you're gonna have Purdue next. Personally, no, you don't. Mm-mm. I have Michigan State next. I have Michigan State as either a 3 or a 4 seed right now. They've lost 3 straight. They've lost one of their best players. I think they're trending downward. And if the tournament started right now, they don't have one of their best players. They've lost 3 straight. I think that the NCAA committee would take that into consideration and knock them down a seed or 2. That's why I have them at 3 or 4 because I can't. I don't have my whole bracket made out yet, so it's hard for me to say they're a legit 3 or a legit 4, but they're a 3-4 fringe.
I mean, they just dropped a game to Illinois. They've dropped 3 in a row.
3 in a row.
I have Michigan State at 3 as well. But there's a team that you have, I'm assuming, have surprisingly high.
No.
I have Wisconsin as a 5 seed.
I have Wisconsin as a 4 seed. Sorry, I did miss that. Because I went Maryland, Iowa. I skipped over Wisconsin. I apologize. I got really excited to talk about Michigan State.
Because I was like, there's no way that you have Wisconsin higher than a 4 seed.
No, I have Wisconsin as a 4 seed. Excuse me for that. They have big win over Michigan. They play Michigan again, I think, this weekend. So it's a big test for them to see if they can double dip over one of the conference's best. Purdue.
4 seed.
I have them as a 3 seed. Yeah, I mean, it's apples to oranges there when it comes to that.
I think that they could end up in a 3 as a 3 or 2.
I think they could end up as a 2 seed if they play the way they can.
I think they're a 4.
But I don't think they will.
They have to go to Maryland in a week.
I still think that they're going to lose a game or lose a couple games here in the Big, like everybody's losing in the Big Ten. I think what's ends up going to happening is the Big Ten's going to have a lot of late 2s to 5 seeds because this conference is going to beat up on each other. But then when it gets to the tournament, you're going to see Big Ten teams advancing very far, and you're sitting there going like, how is that team a 4? Because the Big Ten kind of knocks everyone out. So I have Purdue as a 3. You had them as a 4. Michigan.
I wanted to put Michigan as my 4th 1 seed.
I can't.
But I didn't. I have Michigan as a 2 seed.
I have them as a 2 seed as well. I have them as my best 2 seed, though, and clipping on the heels of my worst 1 seed, which we're also going to talk about right here because we have our one. I wanted to talk about the Big Ten before we start doing 1 seeds, just in case you did have a 1 seed as a Big Ten guy. We can kind of go into that, leap into it.
Now that we've talked about every team we have and their seedings, with now the Big Ten playing a 20-game stretch, what do you think? How many wins get you
8.
in? You think an 8-12 Big Ten record gets you in?
That's how good the Big 12 is this, or Big 10 is this year. That 8-12 is. I think that's the cutoff.
So you think that an 18-13 team can get in
if they have the right wins? If they have the right wins, yes. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say the benchmark. If you win 8 games, you're guaranteed to get in. Because, hell, Rutgers right now has 4 wins, and I have them nowhere near my tournament.
Obviously, right now, Maryland's 8-4 in the Big Ten. They lose out. Are you really going to put them in? Who knows?
No. But my thing is, when it comes to it, I think you cannot. I don't think you can be 7-13 and challenging to get 8-12. Kind of reminds me of 9-11. In that range, or like 8, because like 8-10 used to get you in.
Yeah. Yes.
8-10 used to get you in. So I guess maybe 9-11 might be my cutoff. But I think 8 wins with the right team, like this Indiana squad. if they can pick up a few clutch more wins, then they're a team that I think
an 8-12 Indiana team can most likely get in. I don't think an 8-12 Nebraska team.
No, and I don't even think an 8-12 Ohio State team. I think they would be ones that would be struggling to get in at that as well.
Yeah.
Again, there's still a lot of basketball to be played, and there's still a lot of games for these teams to pick up and win, but I think the Big Ten is going to have, I think they're going to have maybe 3 teams that might be finishing at or below 500 that will get into the tournament this year when it comes to their conference record.
There used to be talk about the Big Ten getting 10 teams in. I don't see it happening.
It sucks because Nebraska was that team to me.
And I think that they're in a must-win game right now. They're down 10 with 12 minutes left to Maryland. If they lose to Maryland tonight, they drop to 3-9 in the Big Ten.
Yeah, so that's not going to happen.
So that's 3-9 with 8 games left.
And
I don't see it happening.
Yeah, they'd have to go on a big winning streak, and they still have the likes of Michigan State. I mean, it's not going to happen.
You got to win games like. Don't get me wrong, Maryland's a better team, but you got to win games like that at home.
No, so let's talk about let's wrap up this podcast. Talk number 1 seeds right now in the NCAA basketball tournament. We've kind of told you what good teams are out there. Do you have them labeled out by region?
I do not.
Okay, so just give me your top 14. Do you have them labeled out 1 through 4 at least?
I think 1. Sure. Yes.
Right now, your number 1 overall seed would be
Tennessee.
They have to be. They're the number 1 team in the country. They have great wins in a good conference. The SEC, they're good, not great, very top heavy. They have some good teams like Kentucky, Auburn, Alabama's a good team. They're a giant slayer. Another team that I think is going to be in that. Indiana, Alabama are going to be talked about a lot because they're both going to be 500 in conference. Number 2 seed.
Virginia.
Okay. Number 3 seed.
Duke.
Number 4 seed.
Like I said, I wanted to make it Michigan. I don't think Kentucky deserves it. That leaves you with Gonzaga.
Yes, I think Kentucky, they've gotten blown out by too many good teams, and they've gotten absolutely killed to be putting in a number 1 seed. I considered Nevada, and then I looked at their schedule. Because I looked at West, I looked at who are the best schools out West. Right now in the top 25, it's Nevada and it's Gonzaga. And I'm sitting there going like, well, is there another team that deserves that number 4 seed that's not in the western part of the country? They didn't have it, so I went with Gonzaga. And then I looked at Nevada's schedule. They're going to be like a 3 seed. They're probably only going to lose 1 game this year and be a 3, maybe a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. So my number, I'd have mine ranked by regions. So mine is Tennessee gets the Midwest. Because they have Columbus would be a spot for them to be at, and I think they're gonna have closer games. And I don't know where the Final Four or the regional final is going to be, but I think it's it's obviously in the Midwest. I'm not an idiot, but I think it's closer to Tennessee than the South would be.
Okay.
So then I think the South is gonna go to Virginia. Virginia is a damn good basketball team. They
will not have a repeat of last year.
No, because they got their guys back. They got the guys that were. And here's the thing with Virginia: are they going to set any kind of records offensively? No. But this team is really good, and they're really hungry after what happened to them last year.
Yep.
I have the East going to Duke. I think Duke has some of the best players in the country all on one team, but will their youth kind of ruin them when it comes down to the NCAA tournament? And finally, out West, we talked about it, Gonzaga, the Bulldogs. I mean, you got to remember, 6 weeks ago, this is number 1 team in the country. So they're a good basketball team. Got Hachimura out there, who I think is one of the best big men in college basketball. If you haven't seen him play, stay up late one night when Gonzaga's on ESPN. Hachimura is very, very good. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it, man. I mean, we will talk a lot of college basketball. We are going to have an NBA trade deadline special tomorrow. We're under an hour today, Zach. Barely. But under an hour today. We really like and appreciate you guys giving us your full support. Head over to our social medias.
Let us know what you want us to talk about.
We say this every week. Our fans don't say anything. So you know what? I demand you to tell me what you want us to say on a podcast. We would love to get your opinions, guys. I really do appreciate you getting out there. Zach, any final thoughts, final words for the loyal fans of Matt and Zach Show?
No, looking forward to this next 12, 14, like
15
hours,
hours 15, 16 hours
till the trade deadline, and some really good college basketball over the next 4 weeks.
Absolutely, guys. We're gonna cut this episode like this. I mean, we're really excited because we're gonna do a podcast tomorrow. Zach will be remotely doing this, so we'll see how it sounds.
We'll do the best we can,
guys. This is how much we really wanted to bring you an episode tomorrow. That we are going to try something new, and we're gonna try having Zach remote and doing something that we've never done before. But we really appreciate you guys listening. So until next time, my name is Matt.
This is Zach.
Peace.